All Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, staff writer, fanside.com. I'm joined today by a man who celebrated Thanksgiving this weekend, like most of us, who didn't have leftovers like a lot of us, but absolutely did not burn his hand cooking some honey baked ham in a microwave because we don't do that on this planet. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. Hope you're doing better than me. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I hope those hands healed up. Dude, I'll tell you one thing that I really, really miss about Thanksgiving food on the East Coast is in Wilmington, there's a burrito place called Flaming Amy's Burritos. If you're ever in Wilmington, North Carolina, please God go to Flaming Amy's. It's one of the best burritos you ever have. You get a discount if you have a tattoo. It's a great place. But for Thanksgiving, they have the turkey chonga, which is literally a Thanksgiving meal that they fry in a burrito like a chimichanga. And nothing's ever gonna really top that. Like they use the gravy as the sauce, and like it's just a wonderful experience. And when I'm thinking about Thanksgiving leftovers, I don't want leftovers. I want a turkey chonga.
I respect that. So it's turkey, it's gravy, it's green
It's,
beans,
it's
maybe.
stuffing, mashed potatoes. I think there's like a slight layer of cranberry sauce to give it a little sweetness to set it off. And I feel like there's one more thing in there that I'm forgetting, but it's like something small. But yeah, it's like all like the mains of a Thanksgiving meal.
It's made with love. That's what's the missing
A
ingredient right
hundred
there.
percent. Yes.
So we're on like day two or three of leftovers here back in the ATL after relocating. After Saturday, before we did 3 yards to cloud a punt, my dad always does. It's just he always does so much food. It's insane. It's always overkill. But like when you have 5 people there and people that like to eat a lot, like my brother-in-law, myself, there you
Yeah.
go. My sister doesn't eat anything, but that's neither here nor there.
Your
But
brother-in-law makes up for it. It's good.
my brother-in-law's brother makes up for it too. That guy eats until his back hurts.
Amen, brother. That's what you got to do.
So we got some honey baked ham. I love honey baked ham. It's fantastic. I
Hmm.
kind of like that more than turkey. I have turkey like once a year, and that's really all I ever do with it. But the Arizona State podcast wanted to heat up some ham and put it in the microwave. Like, I don't think we serve it that way, but I'll do it for you because I love you. I put it in there. I grabbed the little tiny little small plate, just hot ham juice all over my hand, and I don't think I have like a boil on my finger, but like I felt like, yeah, I may have to call in sick tomorrow because I can't type.
My fingers don't work.
Welcome to the AJ Hawk life, brother.
That's right. Shouts Jason Pierre-Paul.
Jason Pierre-Paul. He's got what? I think he's got 5 less fingers than Antonio Alfonseca. So
He
there's
has the
just
fingers that he has.
if you had two Jason Pierre-Pauls and another finger, you'd have first and 15. Yeah, we're gonna start there with Stephen B. Swift's second take. Our delayed reactions to the AP Top 25 and how it can impact the CFP. I was just trying to talk so I wouldn't laugh, but now it's coming back.
You almost made it through, man. You almost had it.
I almost did. I almost did. So I feel water has mostly found its level with what the AP is and what we think the CFP is. Really, the biggest point of contention I have, I have more and more of a problem of SMU being behind Ohio State than I thought I
Yeah.
would. I think they need to flip, and for only one reason, because you need to do everything in your power to make sure SMU can make it in, because they don't deserve to get punished for losing potentially to Clemson. With where Ohio State's at, if they were to drop down to 8, which would be seeded 10, they're still not going to be out.
No, I agree with you. I mean, we've talked for a while now about how SMU is kind of getting shafted a little bit, like where they are in the rankings, where they have been in the rankings. Like even even prior to this week, we were talking about, why is there a gap? Why is there like a 3 or 4 spot gap in the polls between SMU and Miami? It doesn't make a lot of sense. They have very similar resumes in what they've done, and SMU's loss is actually better than what Miami has. So like it's it's been incongruent with what we've seen from SMU to this point, especially a team that's been like dominant in a lot of cases. So like I do think I'm right there with you. I don't understand why a 2 loss Ohio State is being valued over a 1 loss SMU team that's 1 loss is to a ranked opponent. So like that's Ohio State can't say that now after the loss to Michigan. Like their loss, they're like, the one thing bolstering them was, well, our 1 loss is to the number one team in the country. And like that's a fair argument to that point. But when you lose to Michigan, that changes the calculus of what we're talking about with these teams.
Yes, I wrote this for fanside.com yesterday. I had to really look really hard to find, stuff to grind my gears. So it was kind of
Yeah.
the dichotomy between SMU and Ohio State. There was two more that were very interesting. I'm gonna unpack this one because it's a little bit fresher to my mind, and I didn't realize I was doing it. And it also screws SMU at the same time. It's the dichotomy between Clemson and BYU. There's one
Mhm.
because if you make Clemson higher than BYU, then if SMU were to lose to Clemson, then like they got a better chance of getting in. But at the same time, give them the good pets. Give them the good pets. Not Clemson. Give or Karen the Cougar. That's what we need to
Hell
do.
no. I'm not petting Dabo, I promise.
No, Daba's the kind of guy. If you threw him a surprise party, he'd shoot you.
Oh, 100%. And then not use the portal.
Yeah, and then not use the portal. Yeah, having a little bit of car issues out there in the parking lot. Apparently,
Hell
yours
yeah.
truly did not close the back door all the way through and killed the States podcast back battery.
Rick.
I am so glad you said that. So yeah, we all pay the idiot tax from time to time, but it's like with SMU and BYU and Clemson, it's like if you the only way you can really move Clemson up is by knocking BYU back because they can't conceivably make it into the playoff. But
Yeah.
then like that hurts Clemson because like that hurts BYU because that hurts BYU. It hurts SMU. God, my brain's a damn what's a pretzel over this. So like it's like you're moving chairs on the Titanic to help save SMU, and I don't know if they're going to be saved. I hope there's a floating door for them out there in the North Atlantic.
And Hope Rose isn't on it because she sure as hell isn't going to let SMU on there and Rhett Lashley. But no, like, I mean, that's a really good point by you. Like, the fact that those two are seemingly like tied with one another in the rankings and not tied like, you know, even score, but like, tied together. Like, I feel like they're kind of going to move around in the rankings. Like, if we had more season left, they would move around together in the rankings as they won and lost. But like, at this point, it's just like, I don't know. It feels like we're shaping up towards SMU if they were to lose to Clemson, like getting screwed out of this. Like that's what it feels like we're trending toward. As we get into the 12-team playoff bracket, you're going to hear me be really cynical about a lot of things. And like that's one of the things I'm very cynical about is like if SMU loses that game, like I don't think the committee's going to do it because I think they're going to value the name on the helmet. And like that's the unfortunate reality.
Which goes back to my point. That's why I wanted them to be ahead of Ohio State just to be safe. Like
Yeah.
I feel is fine no matter what happens. They're not going to
Mhm.
move very
I mean,
much
they
at
don't
all.
they don't have a conference championship game to worry about. So like that
Right.
that helps Indiana in this case. Like the fact that Indiana doesn't have to go play that game and they're already sitting there at 11-1, like there's no more data points. We've seen what they've done and what they've done a lot of the way is beat the piss out of teams. So like I think they're in a good spot.
And then besides, like, no matter what happens in Indianapolis between Oregon and Penn State, they're both going to be ranked ahead of Indiana anyway, so it's not
Yeah.
going to matter. Because it's like, well, if Penn State loses, they're going to be like six, and if
Yeah.
Oregon loses, they'll be like five. That's kind
Yeah.
of where Penn State will be a six or seven. But the last one, again, the one that's the big point. I know it's going to get you fired up with the South Carolina Alabama debate. That's definitely there. I'm gonna let you have the floor there with that. I know you've got thoughts.
I again, this comes down to the name on the helmet to me, in my opinion, because I understand that, like, honestly, the resumes between these teams are not like too dissimilar. Alabama has the better win of any of either of these two teams, beating Georgia. Like, there's no question that that's better than what South Carolina has done. However, they both have of teams that are currently ranked. They both have three ranked wins. One of them for each of them was against Missouri, so like you have a common win there. But where I keep coming down to is two. I keep coming down on two things. The first one is if we want to get the 12 best teams into this playoff, South Carolina is playing better than Alabama right now. They lost by 2 points to Alabama in the head-to-head, and I fully understand that. But if you put those two teams on the field now, and I don't want to deal in too many hypotheticals, but I'm saying with the way these two teams are playing now, considering it was a 2 point margin when South Carolina was playing like a worse team several months ago, I think that South Carolina wins that game right now. And on top of that, I think what's most indicative of that is when you look at the losses of these teams. I think the floor of South Carolina is weirdly higher than what it is for Alabama
Right.
right now. Like South Carolina does not have a 24-3 at Oklahoma floor right now with the way they're playing. And we just saw that 2 weeks ago from Alabama. Like if this wasn't Alabama, if this was on, frankly, if this was Ole Miss, who we are seeing, like we saw Ole Miss, who has a head-to-head win, get pushed behind South Carolina. But the fact that this is Alabama, they're getting some sort of credit that they basically have the same resume as Ole Miss, except with a one better win. That's literally what we're looking at right now.
Totally agree with you. I think also the fact that South Carolina played better against Alabama than it did Ole Miss, who it's ahead of. So
Yeah,
it's going to come down to helmet sort of component. It's interesting you bring up the fact that like South Carolina's floor is higher than Alabama's. Alabama has way too much variance to be trusted. And at the very end of the day, South Carolina is not only one of the 12 best teams in the country playing right now, they're probably one of the five best. I would say
yeah.
that like I think they're playing better football than Georgia or Texas is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Man,
mean, I'll tell you, I do not. If I was a college football playoff team, you know who I don't want to see on the opposite offense? Lenora Sellers. But
no.
Lenora Sellers is playing like one of the five best quarterbacks in college football right now. Dude, absolutely like put South Carolina on his back against Clemson and was like, "Don't worry, guys, I got this."
I like how he has like the smart dude glasses on. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm just running blind. I'm going, man.
I know the end zone's that away, and that's where I'm headed.
Watching that game, I'm telling my dad, I'm like, yeah, there's a chance that like, if Kirby retires early, that Shane Beamer's the guy. He's like, nah, I hate him.
I mean, like, look, I get hating Shane Beamer. I truly do. But like, dude's a good football coach.
Yes, he is. And he can't really change a 70-year-old man's opinion, but you can change the opinions of the selection committee and the AP top 25. Let's move on to playoffs. You kidding me? Yes, this
Let's
is
do
going to
it.
be this may take a while, but we're gonna try real hard and get somewhere. But then in the end, will it really even matter? Because we got a whole another one of these to do. And
Yeah.
I'll be doing playoff Goldilocks on Tuesday night. We will be doing Thursday show, and then Cody will be flying solo like a cup for 3 yards in a cloud of punt after Penn State, Oregon, because I'm seeing one of Las Culturistas sing Christmas carols a mile or so from the Bends, because that's what we're doing.
Joy to the world, baby. Joy to the world.
I'm just trying to figure out what Christmas is all about. But let's figure out this let's figure out this playoff bracket here. So, okay. Do. I feel we may have the same top four. Feel pretty
Probably.
confident. Probably we may have a very similar feel. I think let's just I'll go. Okay. Let's go AQs. I've got number one, I've got Oregon at number one, projected to win the Big Ten. Number two, I've got Texas projected to win the SEC. Three, I've got SMU projected to win the ACC. Four, Boise State projected to win the Mountain West, number five. And I've got Arizona State at 12 projected to win the Big 12.
Exact same AQs in the exact same spot. So no, nothing to really unpack here. I think we feel pretty confident at this point. Honestly, the team I'm least confident in out of those AQs right now is Boise, weirdly. But like if they do beat UNLV and like we're projecting that like they're favored against UNLV, so like if they beat them, they are going to be the 4 seed based on where they're ranked. And that like that's another ranked win, like, or that is a ranked win for them because UNLV is now firmly ranked.
This is a wild situation. Let's say SMU loses and Clemson gets in. That would make Arizona State a 4 seed.
And make Arizona and Boise State the 3 seed, which wild world.
But I mean, like, they're not really bid stealing at this point. Like, they're both
No.
ranked inside the top 12. They'll just be like seed stealing. So, like, it's not going to be that egregious.
Yeah. I mean, and that's honestly that's like I'm happy for that to be the case. Although like a bid stealer would conceivably put the Alabama South Carolina debate on the back burner if it was SMU to lose, like if we have that debate of is F does SMU get in at that spot, you know, maybe how do you value SMU versus Alabama? I'm sure the committee would value Alabama, but whatever.
I'm sure they would too. It's all about knowing people and knowing that A comes before S, M, and U in the alphabet.
That's right.
That's a that's an effing fact.
And in the TV ratings.
And the TV ratings, it's all about that. Not the Trans Am market, though. I don't think that that's really what's going on there. So instead of relocating away, let's go to number five. Who do you have at number five?
Number five, I have Notre Dame. And I think that if we're projecting that Penn State loses to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, I just don't see Penn State not being penalized. Like, I think Penn State is in a position to be penalized because, like, we talked about it. their ranking has been fraudulent for quite some time based on what they've actually done. And now the Ohio State loss looks actually worse. Now, because you lost again, let's not forget, you lost that game in Happy Valley. And so like that game now looks worse. And then on top of that, the like if you go to Oregon and it looks bad, which I think it might, like I don't think it's going to look too bad. Like I said on Saturday night, Penn State doesn't get blown out necessarily, but I do think it probably looks a lot like the Ohio State game where like the offense is a little inept. The offense really can't get anything done. Maybe you make some plays on defense, maybe you force Dylan Gabriel into mistakes to keep it a little bit close, but at the end of the day, I think Oregon's just a far better team. If that happens and we see that play out again and they're sitting there at 11-2, I do think they're going to be penalized. Whereas with Notre Dame, they're set. They're sitting pretty much like Indiana. Like their spot is basically locked in at this point, except their 11-1 looks a little better because of the resume they have.
Yes, I think ours is going to be a little bit different. Yours is like what you think it's going to happen at the end of the year. This is kind of what I think
Yeah.
like what the committee is going to do tomorrow. So that's okay. We have
Okay.
two different sides of the coins. That's fine. This is what we're doing. So right now I put Penn State at 5 and then Notre Dame at 6. That's kind
Okay.
of just because, Penn State's got an opportunity to get the 1 seed. Notre Dame does not. Not that I really trust Penn State. This is a game where they're not going to be favored, so therefore they'll lose.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I see Notre we were talking about this maybe off air before we started. Again, it's early. It's almost 10 here and it's almost 8 there for you. So who knows
Almost
what's
a.
going almost 8, man. But anyway, like Notre Dame's gonna be probably no lower than 6, probably the
Yeah.
5 seed, like unless like Oregon loses or Texas loses. It's basically they're
Yeah.
gonna be like 5.
Yeah. Like I think those are the two scenarios where they're not in that 5 seed. Frankly, like it's hard for me to see Notre Dame. Like to be clear, this isn't like Notre Dame. This is the conversation we've been having with Penn State is not the same conversation we're having with Notre Dame. Notre Dame has earned this. Like, yes, the Northern Illinois loss was bad, but as we talked about on Saturday, most of these teams have a bad loss at this point. Is it as bad as Northern Illinois? No.
Now,
But they also like you look at the totality of the resume, and it's you have the win over Texas A&M, which yes now looks worse, but still you have a win over Texas A&M and Kyle Field. You have a win over Army. You have a win over a USC team that's bowl eligible. You have a win over a Navy team that's bowl eligible. Like you have a decent resume to this point, and like that Northern Illinois game, more and more with the way Notre Dame dominated a lot of this competition, really looks like an outlier. And like I
yeah.
think the committee is very, very quick to dismiss outliers. That's why, like when I talk about a team like Alabama, I don't think it's an outlier when you have 3 losses and 2 of them are bad. Like I think like that stops becoming an outlier, that starts becoming a trend.
I mean, who besides Oregon has a longer winning streak that matters than Notre Dame right now?
Yeah, honestly, like I don't think there's any.
SMU is probably right about the same
Yeah,
timeline too, but like there's not many.
no, it's a short list.
Boise, Notre Dame, and SMU. Yeah, so basically Notre Dame is playing fantastic football right now, and I firmly feel like they're going to have one of the first 2 home games in the first round. So, who do you have at 6?
At 6, I have Georgia. I think that the SEC is going to be, again, I told you I'm putting on my Senate cap when I'm doing these projections. And my Senate cap says they're not going to take the SEC championship loser and give them an away first round playoff game. And I just don't think Georgia gets penalized. I don't think that even if they're a 3-loss team after losing the SEC championship, I just don't see them getting docked, frankly, hardly at all. I think you're gonna like if you weigh Georgia versus Penn State, if you're the committee, I don't see how you don't have Georgia ahead of Penn State. And like spoiler, I have Penn State at 7. So like if I have Penn State at 7, I have to have Georgia at 6.
And I've got Georgia at 7. I kind of feel right there with you, where like I don't think you can have the SEC runner-up not have a first round game. I think, but they would also do this to potentially create some level of separation between Georgia and Tennessee to prevent the same game in the same place. They're
Yes.
absolutely going to do that for if they're going to meet again like in the Cotton Bowl or something like that. That's fine. I don't really know I haven't really figured out the quarterfinals or the semis yet. However that would go.
Yeah.
My brain can't work right now. But the point is like they're
No.
okay with Georgia being Tennessee again, just not right away.
Yeah. Let's let that fester a little bit before we get there.
So maybe I wasn't necessarily there with you initially. Like if Georgia would have lost, I would have probably dropped Georgia down to like 10. and they're still
Yeah.
in anyway. But like they're going to be somewhere in that. They're going to be somewhere in that. Maybe as high as two, probably in the 6 to 10 range is kind of where I feel Georgia's going to be. They're not going to punish them for losing to Texas in a rematch when they're underdog by 2 points at home.
Yeah, and also like you have a win over Texas already. So
Yeah,
like you're splitting the difference. And I do think that matters as well. The fact that you have and not just a win, like a decisive win.
right. Who do you have at 8?
At 8 is where I have Ohio State. And so like I think that Ohio State's probably locked in there. Again, I do think that the committee is going to protect their two biggest entities, which is the SEC and the Big Ten. And I think they're going to try to get their biggest brands from those schools, which is Ohio State, no doubt, a home game. And so, like, I think, like, with the way we saw the AP drop them, I think the committee's probably going to follow suit. Like, that's one of the dirty secrets about the AP Top 25 this year is I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, this was not the case last year, but like, I feel like it is pretty closely mirrored what the committee has done this year in terms of the rankings. So, like, if with the way Ohio State dropped after losing to Michigan, I would have dropped them a little bit further, but hey, that's just me. I think that they're probably still going to be locked into that 8 seed.
I've got Ohio State at 9. At 8, I have Tennessee. Feel like
Okay.
again the
We flipped them then
separating.
because I have 9 at Tennessee. I have Tennessee at 9. And I just think that I think when the dust settles, it's just going to be Ohio State favoritism. Like I think Tennessee probably deserves that spot more than Ohio State does, but who am I?
Yeah, I mean Tennessee's got the win over Alabama, but maybe Ohio State's got two more quality wins than Tennessee. Ohio State doesn't have a
Mhm.
bad loss. Tennessee's got a bad one versus Arkansas. But I will say though, Tennessee's got a fantastic defense. They're going to make life hell for Will Howard in the running game right there. That could be a. I'll take the under in that game.
Oh, 100%, dude. And take Will Howard's unders too, because dude's not cut out for this.
Take Will Howard's underwear and pull it over his head, stuff him in a locker, then let him on fire and say, "You're never going to play in the NFL, man, because you kind of suck."
Also, let's just appreciate the fact that Chip Kelly was like, okay, Michigan has like one thing that they're like truly elite at, and it happens to be Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, and he just ran the ball like 20 times right into their mouth.
The tryptophan was kicking Chip Kelly's ass, and this is all.
I feel like it always is. Like, I guarantee you Chip Kelly has turkey at least a half dozen times a year. He's not a once a year guy.
He's a turkey, cheese, and mayo guy at Subway. That's what he gets.
100%.
Absolutely no vegetables.
No, no. Do you want spinach? Please don't even let it near the spinach. Thank you.
I only eat iceberg lettuce and celery just for the minerals and the and to
For
get this
hydration.
for hydration to get this S out of my body, please.
That's right.
Al Michaels has never had a vegetable in his life either.
Hey, he's still kicking, still thriving.
Still kicking, still thriving. So okay, we got Ohio State and Tennessee flipped at 10. I've got Indiana.
That's where I have Indiana as well. So yeah, we're same spot. Like, I don't think they're in danger. I considered getting cynical again and having them at 11, but I don't see that happening. Like I think that they're just firmly into this like 10 spot based on like the other teams like Tennessee, like Ohio State, like Notre Dame that like aren't playing conference championship games but are pretty much locked, and Indiana falls behind them.
Indiana has the most consistent offense in college football. I feel like for the
Mhm.
most part, it's like Tennessee's defense. There's other like Georgia's defense can be really good, and it can also not. There's Texas.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of, but I would just say Indiana's offense has been the most consistently strong thing I've seen on that side of the ball. Probably in the top 15 in the country. They deserve to be in there. Kurt Sietti needs to win Coach of the Year. But I bet he's really happy because he'd be the number one candidate for West Virginia if that. We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
And at 11, I've got South Carolina.
Here's where I put on my Senate cap and don't do what I actually
No.
want to do. This is Alabama. And like I hate it so much. Like it should be South Carolina. And like to be clear, I want to be wrong in this. Like I've been banging the South Carolina drums going into the Clemson game. Like I thought they were going to beat Clemson. They did. And I said if they beat Clemson, they should be ranked ahead of Alabama. They should get into the playoff over Alabama. That's the team I want to see in the playoff. I just don't I'm way too cynical with how this committee views Alabama, how they viewed Alabama. Like I feel like Alabama, even when before the Oklahoma loss, I felt like they were being overvalued a little bit based on what they had actually done. Like they're relying so heavily on that Georgia win that like it just, I don't know. I'm not there with Alabama right now, but I do think the committee will be there. And I'm trying to project what the committee's going to do. That's what I have.
Yeah, I remember at one point during the year, I'm like, I think South Carolina is really good, but they're not going to go to a bowl game, and then now they're nine
Yeah.
and three. Like for that to even flip around is just a testament to how good South Carolina's been. And honestly, I'd give Lenore Sellers needs to be the SEC Player of the Year.
Oh yeah.
He needs to be the he's not going to win, but they need to bring him to the Heisman Trophy race and have him finish third behind Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty in some order.
Yeah, I mean, who else is going to do it? I take that back. You know who else deserves to be there? Ari Wasserman of On Three brought this up. Cam Scatterbo,
Yeah,
get his ass to New York because like he is the heart and soul of this Arizona State team. That is way better than anyone thought.
that's the first good thing Ari Wasserman said in a month. I
Hmm.
love the guy, but he's been like the most like he's been a bigger hater of the SEC than Danny Cannell. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. I'm
which
like, dude,
is a high bar to clear.
like I can understand it in some capacities and stuff like that. But dude, you're an Arizona grad. You don't work for Ohio State anymore. Bill Landis does. You can just chill. It's fine. Like
Yeah, and Ohio State's
it's
not good, so like
no,
you know,
no,
there's that.
no. It's I don't know. Like you can criticize Alabama or anything like that, but I'm like, I don't think you could really criticize Texas, Tennessee, or Georgia too terribly. I feel like they've kind
No,
of done what they needed to do.
yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's our top 12, and my first four out. I've got Alabama first team out, Ole Miss second, Miami third, and then Iowa State.
So I have the same four, just in different order. I have South Carolina, then Miami, then Ole Miss, then Iowa State. So like it's the same four though. I think we're pretty much we have the playoff picture pretty clear.
Brett McMurphy tweeted this out yesterday. I've been again with the coaching changes. I'm just going back and forth looking at the same four people. Also, Adam Rittenberger's account got hacked, so that's a problem. But like basically the same people who break news in here. And I think he had like the lines from Circus Sports. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18 teams can basically make the playoff is basically what he had. Outside of the teams we have here, that would include Clemson at 80 to 1, and then UNLV at 200 to 1 with Ole Miss. So those are really the only 18 teams. Honestly, just move UNLV up to 18 and stop wasting everyone's time.
Yeah, like
Like
we know what this is. Like just let it happen. It's just if with the AAC effectively eliminating itself, like I don't see the like so much of this feels superfluous at this point.
I will say though, there is a very interesting drop off. So Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Georgia are all 5-1 or better. I think Oregon's slightly worse than 3 to 1. And then it drops down to 10 to 1 to Notre Dame. So
Mhm.
maybe again, we've arrived at the exact same point where the four teams we said were absolutely going to be a lock have the best chances of getting there. And then there's Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, baby.
And then Penn State's right there at 12 to 1, Bama 20 to 1, 20 Tennessee 25 to 1. Then you got to SMU at 45 to 1. At that point, yeah, odds do not think Indiana has a shot. They're at 60 to 1.
I mean, there's a lot of good defensive lines that are going to be in the playoff, and we saw what happened when Indiana played good defensive line.
We saw that for sure. So let's recap this and let's move on with our life here. You go first and then I'll go.
All right, so one, I have Oregon. Two, I have Texas. Three, I have SMU. Four, I have Boise State. 12, I have Arizona State playing the 5 seed Notre Dame. Six, I have Georgia hosting Alabama. Seven, I have Penn State hosting number 10, Indiana. And eight, I have Ohio State hosting number 9, Tennessee. First four out, South Carolina, Miami, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Cyclones.
I like the Penn State Indiana matchup a lot. That one
Mhm.
stuck out to me. That's a good one there. So I've got Oregon 1, Texas 2, SMU 3, Boise State 4 getting the first round buys. I've got number 5 Penn State hosting number 12 Arizona State. I don't think they've ever played each other before.
That'd be sick. It'd be sick.
I'm gonna look that up off air on Wikipedia. It's like, have you played this team before? I don't think they have ever played. There's no way. Why would
I mean, can you like think of two coaches that are more like more different in likability than Kenny Dillingham and James Franklin?
man, that's one extreme to another, man.
Yeah, like there's a canyon between those two in terms of likability.
There's an entire Mississippi River between those two teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Then at 6, I've got Notre Dame hosting number 11 South Carolina in the Lou Holtz Bowl.
Hell
These
yes.
He's gonna lose his mind. And
I want to know where Lou Holtz is right now.
uh, oh my gosh. And then a 7-10, I've got Georgia hosting Indiana in the Tom Crean Bowl.
Yes, sir.
And then 8-9, I've got Tennessee hosting Ohio State and Jimmy Haslam's the pilot game.
The Pilot Bowl.
First three out, I've got the first four out, I got Alabama, Ole Miss, Miami, and Iowa State.
Hell yeah.
Yes, don't really have much to pack up in there and everything like that. I got a push email about something. What the heck's going on here? Okay, never mind, Kyle. We'll deal with that later. Slacks, dude. That's what happens. And I don't know if the committee's going to slack, but let's do some do Haas to do Haas here at the next segment.
Let's do it.
We're gonna talk about SMU, man.
Mm-hmm.
Cody, should SMU be a lock to make the playoff?
Duhas won us, and it's not like there's not a whole lot of thought for me. I know I'm the world's premier SMU hater, apparently, but like it does like we've been talking about it. Like, what? How are you valuing SMU so much less if you're the committee than you are some of these other teams based on what they've done? Like, if this is truly okay, what have you done to earn your way into the college football playoff? I don't understand how you look at SMU and think anything other than that. Like, okay, you played a close game against Duke. You want to know what? Duke's a 9-3 team. Duke is not a bad football team. Duke is a very good football team, frankly. And so, like, you still won that game. You also have something like you have the loss to BYU. It was a 2-point loss, and you made a quarterback switch since then. Like, I just don't understand why we're looking at teams like Indiana, frankly. Like I'm a big fan of Indiana as well, but we're looking at a team like Indiana who has not played anybody, does not really have a quality win on their resume, frankly, to the level that SMU even does, even playing a weaker SEC or ACC schedule. Like we're considering Indiana a lock, but because SMU has to play in a conference championship game, they're not a lock. It doesn't quite, it's just completely incongruent to me. And I feel like SMU, because they are not the brand that a lot of these other programs are, they're getting penalized for that, not because of what they've done on the field.
This absolutely should be do Haas 1S. It's not. It should be. That's the whole way. That's why I use the word should there as the
Yeah.
qualifier. According to FPI, SMU has a 68.9, almost a 69% chance of making the playoff. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's ahead of Boise State by like 3/10, and then Iowa State is actually the other team that's plus 50 that would round out the field. Like they're projected to get in over Arizona State at 44%.
Hmm.
But like you brought up a great point with Indiana. It's like if you're going to compare SMU's resume to Indiana, SMU's is better. It is.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're a better team, but like you've got the quality win over Duke, who's probably going to be ranked.
Yeah. 100%.
You got a decent win over Louisville as well, I believe.
Yeah.
You absolutely destroyed Pitt. You've destroyed Cal, who are both bowl teams. Then Indiana's one losses to Michigan, who's 7-5, and
You mean Ohio State?
Ohio State. Yeah, you beat
Their
Ohio
quality
State.
win is over Michigan, basically.
Yeah. What am I doing? Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. Yeah, whatever it
Dude,
is.
it's Monday. Like
It's
we're
Monday.
here.
Yeah, you beat Michigan. Yeah, that's right. You beat Michigan, but like 5 points,
Yeah.
less than, which is more than what Ohio State or SMU lost to BYU by 3 before you made a quarterback change. You got to allow teams to get better. And I think the committee at its very core has done that. They've allowed teams who lose early to be rewarded, which is why they've really come on to Notre Dame of late. I think they'll do that with Arizona. They're doing that with Arizona State. Hopefully, they do that with South Carolina and SMU. I don't know if they will, but again, it all comes down to where they're ranked today. And I hope they do the right thing and put them ahead of Ohio State. But when it comes down to people doing the right thing, we live in America, and this is false start.
We do live in America. Yes, sir.
You got any other thoughts about SMU?
I mean, like, I just think that when you look at this team, like, honestly, like, the more I think about it, the more Indiana is a really interesting comparison to them because, like, again, like, you compare the resumes, but also, like, in a lot of games this season, and I would venture to say, in like against similar competition that Indiana was doing this, SMU's done the same thing. Like, they've blown people out. And, like, I also think that I just think that the the ACC, although it is not on the same level overall as the Big Ten, like I think the middle of that conference, which SMU handled and went undefeated, like playing and beating, I think the middle of that conference is probably stronger than the middle of the Big Ten right now.
Yeah, Big Ten's got a soft tummy. It really
They
does.
do 100%. It's a soft underbelly.
Like after Illinois, like who's the sixth best team in that league? Like, is there anybody like a fifth one was going to emerge? We kind of knew that, and it would be way beyond Indiana at that point. I guess did
I'm
Indiana
like
beat Illinois?
Iowa.
Yeah, maybe Iowa, maybe Minnesota.
No, and Indiana did not beat Illinois. Those two didn't play. So like,
Okay, that's what I was sitting there. I keep thinking like Indiana had a quality win. Like, never they still don't.
no, it's not great.
No, but Illinois, no, Oregon has a quality win over Illinois. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They beat the bricks off Illinois. They just
God,
suffocated the life out of them.
it's been kind of amazing how little we've had to talk about Oregon for a while there. It's just,
Oh yeah.
besides if you say something like their fans just are so annoying, but like there's always an annoying fan base out there right now. And it's been Tennessee, and now we're gonna see it's gonna change. So we're gonna see
Oh
what's gonna
yeah.
happen. Maybe
It's cyclical.
it's a cyclical sort of thing there. But yes, I hope SMU doesn't get screwed. They probably will. And because he got a raise, he's not going to be gone. He ain't going to be coming. But Red Lash is going to be there for a while. So let's do some he gone, he coming here with some coaching changes. Over the weekend, we had three head coaches of note get terminated. We have had two hires and another guy staying. So Ryan Walters is out at Purdue after winning 5 games over the course of 2 years. Congratulations, man. You weren't ready for
Mhm.
that.
No,
Neal
and like
Brown.
I was just gonna
Yes.
say on Ryan Walters real quick, like I think it would be one like I think people knew that this was going to be not the smoothest transition, probably. I would probably guess, but I also think that the fact that Purdue got as much worse as they did, like the fact that they went from 4-8 and then dropped to 1-11, possibly the worst Power Four team in the country. I maybe not even possible, the worst Power Four team in the
Yeah.
country. Like that shows you that the program is trending in the wrong direction already quickly. So like hats off to I was my one worry with Purdue is like it had only been 2 years, so like do you really want to pull the plug? But like they jumped off a ship they thought was sinking.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who you'd hire. The first name I think of is I think Andy Koldnicki is probably the guy they really want to get. And I know you're North Carolina's in the same sort of boat too,
Yeah.
but like I don't know who else would be like a candidate for the Purdue job.
So
I thought Todd Monken, but he's going to get an NFL job.
I think for me, when it comes to Purdue, I just don't think I don't think guys like Kotelnicki, I don't think guys like Todd Monken, if he was to come to the college ranks, I don't think a lot of these top candidates are going to be wanting the Purdue job, quite frankly. Like, it's a tough job. This is not an easy job to win at. But as I've said before, like, I do think scheme is important. So the guy I have that I've seen mentioned, like, at a couple places that I think could make a lot of sense, Tyson Helton, Western Kentucky's
Yeah.
head coach. I like that a lot. I think that's the bucket they need to be searching for. He's had success everywhere he's been. He learned under June Jones in Hawaii. Like that's where he got his coaching start. So like he is a schematic mind, and like we've seen Western Kentucky have some pretty damn good offenses. You level that up with the players that Purdue can get. You know, it's a higher level than what you're going to get at Western Kentucky. And like I don't think it's going to make Purdue a college football playoff contender, but frankly, I don't think that ceiling is there for the Purdue program. But I think it does make Purdue into like I think it could make Purdue into a relatively consistent like bowl threat, which if you're Purdue, that's what you need to be looking for.
Yeah, I was definitely going to talk about that when we do some JLN about Western Kentucky. Yeah, I think Tyson Hill, I really like that because it's like well, his older brother Clay, had been at USC for a while and was doing a better job than Lincoln did a better job than Lincoln Riley's doing now.
Hey, be careful what
Yeah,
you wish for, USC
be
fans.
careful. I really like that. Also, Bowling Green, Kentucky is not that far from West Lafayette, Indiana.
No,
It's like similar recruiting area. The only issue is Western Kentucky has the brand of we're going to throw the ball a lot, whereas
but I mean, like
Purdue's
you bring that to Purdue, and like there's a lot of there's decent receiving talent in Indiana and in Illinois and Ohio. So like you can recruit those areas and like you're not going to get the guys that Ohio State and those guys are getting, but you're going to get like the cast-offs like that Ohio State didn't want. And like that's not a bad spot to be in, especially if you can out scheme people with those players.
while I'm reticent about the air raid ever working in the Big Ten, I think it could actually work there just because like
Yeah.
it's going to do enough to raise the floor, which the floor is like the mantle of the earth.
100%. I mean, like honestly, like Purdue should be looking at themselves and thinking, how do we get to be Mississippi State under Mike Leach? Like that's
Yes.
what they should be trying to do because like Mississippi State again was never going to compete for SEC championships. Mississippi State was never going to compete for a college football playoff spot. You want to try to compete to be a consistent team that's making a bowl game. And like Mike Leach had that working with the air raid in the SEC, which I again, much like the Big Ten, I don't think the air raid is like highly effective in the SEC. Like I think you have to have like the veer and shoot element, like Josh Heupel's running and stuff like that. Like you have to have elements to it. Just pure air raid does not typically work, but it worked with Mike Leach because if you commit to something fully, then it's going like you're going to have at least some level of success.
Yeah, me sold. It's Tyson Helton's job to lose. I think that's actually a great fit. So Neal Brown's out of West Virginia. I've been sitting here, I've been trying to figure this out. Everybody wants to put Jimbo Fisher and Rich Rod there. I don't necessarily agree with that. The coach I think actually works for them. I think Jamie Chadwell. I think that's the one.
Hmm.
Maybe I know it's the same candidate pool as North Carolina. So like,
Yeah.
whereas I mean, who else do you like for West Virginia? I've mentioned I wrote about this yesterday. I can't even remember anymore. I'm so fried.
So I actually do like Rich Rod there. I just don't like. I'm with you. I don't think it happens. But I don't hate the idea of bringing Rich Rodriguez back to Morgantown. Like I don't. I actually think that would probably be a good move for West Virginia. I just don't think they do it. One candidate you did mention, and one candidate who I do like, and is also a candidate for the North Carolina job, Barry Odom. I think Barry Odom
Yeah,
would make a lot of sense at West Virginia. I think Barry Odom could do a lot of good things at West Virginia. One candidate who I think depends on what West Virginia wants to do with this, if they want to stoop to this level, quote unquote, but who's someone who would not be a candidate for the North Carolina job, Tim Albin at Ohio.
yeah,
And Tim Albin, like, he was projected to have a down year by Ohio standards this year, and he's playing for the MAC championship this year. Like, Tim Albin's a hell of a football coach, and like, we talk, we all know I'm not the biggest Jason Candle guy. Like that's kind of my
yeah.
brand in the MAC. And frankly, I think this year justifies that take because Toledo was by far supposed to be the best team in the MAC, and they're not playing for a MAC championship because Jason Candle got an extension and then decided to mail in the rest of the season. Lost to Akron in the final game of the year. Good job, brother. Anyway, this is not me just hating on Jason Candle. Tim Albin has put together something that's honestly one of the hardest things to do in the MAC. He has built a consistent program in the MAC. Like we see a lot of oscillation in the MAC of like, you get two or three pop, you get two pop years, but then you're gonna like pull back. Ohio's not pulling back. Ohio's not pulling back. And like I think Tim Albin could bring a lot of that. Again, you bring it up. It's a very similar recruiting base to what they would be recruiting in Morgantown. Like I think he could level that up a little bit with more resources at West Virginia. So like I think Tim Albin is kind of like my dark horse that I really like for this.
I really like that. I figured that like the only apprehension is like you hired a guy who was killing it at the group of five at a place
Mhm.
that kind of runs itself with Neal Brown at Troy. Everybody wins at Troy except for Jared Parker, apparently.
Yeah, yeah, apparently.
But Tim Albin, he took over for Frank Solich, who had unbelievable historic success there at Ohio U. The one thing that I think may make this happen, besides the pay raise and opportunity, is Tim Albin's pushing 60. Again, we saw Kurt Signetti, like he's already like mid 60s. He's like, he's got to go. Like, this is the only time you're going to be a Power Four head coach. You're in the same region. And I also think that like Tim Albin wouldn't make West Virginia bland. West Virginia kind of needs like a firecracker a little bit as a guy who's gonna, drop a stink bomb in the hallway during class and between third and fourth period.
100%. Someone who's going to support the burning of couches.
Yeah, you want to get a guy who's not as erratic as Dana Holgerson, but a little more loyal than Rich Rod, and a guy who's not going to push snake oil like Jimbo Fisher. I like Tim Albin there too. The reason I say Jimmy Chadwell is because like eventually somebody's going to be like, you know what, it doesn't matter if you don't have any Power Four experience. His
Yeah.
offense is innovative. I think when West Virginia has innovative offense, they do really well,
Hmm.
and that could work out well there.
Jamie
Maybe
Chadwell, honestly, like with me saying I like Rich Rod, like I like Jamie Chadwell for the same reasons because I think it's the same type of hire. Like you're hiring someone who is going to exactly what you said. Like West Virginia was at its best when it like frankly did not have much of a defense and was just humming on offense and outscoring everybody. And so like get a coach that has that MO. That's what Jamie Chadwell has. That's what Rich Rod had and still has. So like I think like getting someone in that building and like I think we underestimate the fit of what these coaches are at some of these schools. Like You want to know why Rich Rod didn't work at Michigan? Because that's not what Michigan football is. That's not how Michigan football has ever been successful. So like you put someone like that in the building and it's going to be just butting heads immediately.
Absolutely. Just going across the board, it's a great day to be a John Summerall's bank account because like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what you do with Army. Tulane's got to pay you like they had to try to pay Willie Fritz. Otherwise, you may be the top candidate at UCF. You're going to
Yeah.
be a candidate for North Carolina. You'd be a candidate at West Virginia, and you'd be the number one candidate at Kentucky if they move on from Mark Stoops, unless Ohio State does something stupid, moves on for Ryan Day. And if Ryan Day is available, Kentucky hire him yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. And with John Summerall, like, can I put on my tinfoil hat conspiracy fan theory in for a
Yeah,
second? Um, to me, as I'm trying to talk myself into wish casting what I want to happen, it's not a coincidence that North Carolina fires Matt Brown and starts a coaching search, and John Summerall, his team just doesn't look like they have over the past month and against Memphis on Thanksgiving Day. Maybe he was interviewing for a North Carolina job. Maybe he was talking to some boosters in Chapel Hill. Just saying, maybe it happened.
it's a possibility.
That's right. I'll take a possibility.
And I don't know if there's any possibilities down there in Miami, Florida with the FIU Panthers. Yeah, Mike McIntyre is out. Pitbull Stadium was not Dale. They kind of had to do this. They basically gave him another
Yeah.
year. It didn't work out, which is essentially what they're doing at La Tech with Sonny Cumbie. It's like, we're going to give you one more year to see what the next cycle can provide. I don't think it's going to work out there for him and Ruston, Louisiana, but I think that's actually where that's it. I just pulled that out of my ass.
Dude,
Incredible.
that was impressive. I like it.
So you have some thoughts on Mike McIntyre and FIU. Where do you think they potentially go?
I have one candidate that I think should be like the target they like blitz for. And I think it's someone who may potentially take the job just because he wants the opportunity to try to like prove himself. Buster Faulkner, the current Georgia Tech offensive coordinator, former Georgia quarterbacks coach. Like this Georgia Tech team is pretty impressive with what they've been
Yeah,
able to do offensively, kind of piecemealing some of this stuff together and figuring out like, okay, you're going to put Georgia on the ropes. You're going to beat Miami. Like you're 2 years in a row, you're going to beat Miami. Like Buster Faulkner's putting together a really impressive resume. And like, I think he's a guy because he is at Georgia Tech, which is, no shots at Georgia Tech. It's a lower level P4 job. And like so like I think it's hard to imagine despite how good he's been, him getting a high level P4 job at this point or like even a mid-level P4 head coaching job at this point. So like I think go prove yourself at FIU. And I mean, if it doesn't work, you're going to still be sought after as a coordinator. You can go back in those ranks and restart the cycle a little bit. But like, I think he's someone that deserves a shot. And I think he's the type of guy who could come in at FIU, a program that does not have a ton of resources outside of Pitbull Stadium to attract recruits and stuff like that. And I think just like out scheme a lot of teams in the G5.
I like that. I think Buster Faulkner might actually be the guy at Purdue now that I think about it. Because where did Mark Babinski
I
used to
mean,
work?
yeah.
Georgia Tech. That's another
Yeah.
candidate. So
Yeah.
again,
So that, I mean, that's a good call.
but again, like if you have multiple names out there for for coaching candidate, like they're going to get a job if you just need three. And at that point, like what Deion Sanders had serious considerations from South Florida, Cincinnati, and he got Colorado.
Yeah.
That's how this works. I like that one. Charlie Weiss Jr., go coach for his
Mm,
dad's rival.
I
Let
like
him throw the
that.
ball around. I don't hate that either. Get something fun. Use Florida to your advantage. Just throw the ball around. That could be really good. Yeah, Buster Faulkner. Yeah, he might get one of these jobs, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, dude, he deserves it too. Like, let's
Yeah,
be
he
clear.
does. Georgia Tech's Tyler Santucci has an opportunity too, maybe in a year or so.
Yeah.
That's absolutely wild. But yeah, there was two other hires that were made. So Jerry Mack was hired off the Jacksonville Jaguars staff, running backs coach, to take over at Kennesaw State. He had worked under Josh Heupel at Tennessee prior to that, and
Mhm.
he was a head coach. Did pretty good there at North Carolina A&T. So they're trying
Central.
Central. Yes, yes. Gotta get that right.
Hey,
North
that's
Carolina.
like a pretty big rivalry, so I'm protecting us from anyone from NC Central and NCAA that might be watching.
Yes. I know the name Jerry Mack. I'm like, why is this so hard to look like? Oh yeah, he was the running backs coach for Tennessee last 3 years. And He was also somewhere else too beforehand. So
He was
he's
at
worked.
Rice. He was an OC at
Yeah,
Rice, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. So he's worked under Mike Bloomgren. He's worked under Josh Heupel. He's worked under Doug Peterson. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm still not over the fact that they fired Bohannon. Like, I still think
No,
that was a horrible decision, but like in terms of replacements, this is a pretty damn good one. And I think it's very I think it's smart for Kennesaw to get someone in the building quickly and someone like not just, taking anybody who would take the job, but like finding a good candidate and getting them in the building quickly because like we've seen these FCS to FBS jumps, like you can make a leap in year two. And we're going to be talking about someone who just did that in just a second, but like you can make a leap in year two. That's why I wasn't a fan of firing Bohannon. But like I also think that getting someone with the experience that Mac has, like I think it's going to be a good thing for Kennesaw.
totally. Yeah, I think that's you got to have another guy that's going to be able to recruit, can you give that team a brand and everything like that.
Mhm.
We'll see what happens there. And then Casey Keeler has left Sam Houston to take over at Temple. I think that is an amazing hire.
Oh yeah.
I was looking at what his track record. So he'd been at Sam Houston State for about a decade, won a
Mhm.
lot, helped him effectively transition. And then he was at Delaware a decade beforehand and won a bunch of stuff there. So this is another really good challenge. I think Temple's going to win very quickly under him. This is a fantastic hire.
Yeah, like I think year one is going to probably be a struggle, but like I think year two they're going to start winning games and like they're going to be a much better team. Like what we've seen from Keeley to this point is like he has taken over programs and like found untapped potential in every one of them. Whether it was Sam Houston, you're in Texas. Yes, you're a lower level program in Texas, but like he won an FCS national championship at Sam Houston. He won a national championship at Delaware. Like he has consistently built programs and built them into something consistent. Like you even look, I just mentioned this. Like you mentioned Sam Houston making the jump from FCS to FBS, helping that transition. Last year they were 3-9. They couldn't score the football. This year they
Right.
finished 9-3. Like he is a program builder and he gets the programs in the place that it needs to be. And like Temple has been lacking that. Like since Matt Rule, basically, like someone who comes in there and is able to change the bones of a program and get it going in the right direction. And the fact that Keeley has done this not just at multiple programs, but at multiple like geographic locations. Like recruiting in Delaware and recruiting in the state of Texas are two very different propositions. So like the fact that he was able to do that, now he has the recruiting resources in the state of Pennsylvania. Like I think this is going to be a really, really this is like the best hire I think Temple could have made.
Temple can be good. Temple is kind of like somewhere in the in between G5 and Power 4. They're in that
Mm-hmm.
same cluster with South Florida. Like, what is this? Like, we've seen Temple be really good and play up, and
Mm-hmm.
they can certainly do that, and they can make some serious noise in the American right there as well. As far as who could replace him, I have two names. I don't know if they're really serious. Get Josh McCown to go back to alma mater. Let's get him go. Let's get him coaching
That'd be
the Bearcats.
sick.
The other option, which would be even sicker, get the other Sam Houston alum I know, get Shea Serrano on the sidelines.
Oh my God. Do you think Shea even watches college football? I don't think he does.
I mean, probably not. I think he basically watches the NBA and the Texans, and then when the Astros are good, that's kind of his.
Yeah,
That's his real.
100%.
He likes Houston sports, except he hates the Rockets. Go Spurs.
Go Spurs, always and forever. No, I like that a lot. I also think that like I don't have any names specifically to go to Sam Houston, but I think like looking in the G5 quarter like coordinator ranks, like go look at GJ Kinney's staff at Texas State. See if you can poach someone from there. Like I think there's a lot of like guys who have seen programs being built at the G5 level that you could go and you could hire because like if we're gonna sing Keeley's praises, like I think the fact that he's leaving with a program that he did help build, like you do run the risk of finding someone or like going out and making a hire that's going to kind of ruin some of that work.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, just looking across the board, I mean, yeah, you probably want to go with a coordinator there of note in the G5. You figure out somebody that's Texas State, maybe you find somebody at Western Kentucky, maybe you find someone at Jacksonville State, someone that's fun, someone that makes us, I mean, hell, no, it could have been Bush Hamdan, but like he's in Kentucky now. I'll just get to
Yeah.
Bush Hamdan, just get out of Dodge, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if Mark Stoops gets the axe in the next couple of days, maybe we see that.
I don't know. Bush Hampton recruiting for the Bearcats of the K. That'd be amazing.
Bearcats with a K.
All right, so we're gonna recap everything right now. So right now, this instant, according to Wikipedia, we have one, two, three, four jobs that have been filled. Blake Harrell has had the interim tag removed, so he's the full-time head coach at East Carolina. Cody's uncle Scott Abel is now leaving Davidson to go take over at Rice. Jerry Mack at Kennesaw State, coming from the Jaguars, and Casey Casey Keeler. There's a goalkeeper at MLS named Casey Keller, and it's in my head the entire time.
I mean, it's a hell of a tongue twister as well on top of that. So
Well, he's at Temple now. So, and then we've got vacancies at Fresno and Utah State still have interims, haven't solved that yet. Southern Miss, we still have vacancy at Ball State, UMass, Florida Atlantic. Honestly, Charlie Weiss Jr., come on down.
hell yes.
Charlotte, Tulsa, North Carolina, Sam Houston, Central Michigan, UCF, Purdue, FIU, West Virginia. There we go. I can read
The
this one.
G5 slate of open coaching jobs is a poo-poo platter of epic proportions. Holy hell.
Uh, it's like getting a bagel from Arkansas. You sure you want this?
100%, dude. Like it's just a donut but baked like fried longer.
And I don't know if we can fry a donut here, but we're just like 4 for 4 here with some I'm an
Hell
idiot.
yeah.
Move on. Biggest thing we got wrong from the regular season in each Power Four conference. Let's have you start with the NC State podcast with North Car within the ACC. I don't think there's another choice for you.
Nah, man. You know what? Hey, NC State is bowl eligible, so I wasn't as wrong as I thought I was going to be because there were times in this season where I wasn't sure that the Wolfpack were going to a bowl game. But like the fact that I had them as the ACC representative in the college football playoff, they did not meet those expectations. They fell woefully short of them. Again, I think like the idea of moving on from Dave Doran, I think is a horrible idea. Dave Doran has such a track record of success that this looks like just a swing and a miss, quite frankly. Like you moved on from MJ Morris and hoped that you would be able to get something out of Grayson McCall. It turned out he was not, I don't mean this offensively, but like essentially damaged goods. Like the injuries had taken its toll on Grayson McCall to the point that he was not the same player that he was at his peak at Coastal Carolina. And like sometimes you're going to swing and miss in that regard. But I think like the fact that NC State did play better down the stretch, the fact that Bailey, who they put in for quarterback after McCall, had to quit playing football essentially. Like I think you saw some bones there. I think NC State's going to be fine. I'm probably not going to be projecting them to go to college football playoff
Yeah.
anytime soon, but like I do think that like you're fine as a program, but I was woefully wrong as to what this team is going to be this year.
I didn't have a lot wrong in the ACC for the most part. This is the hardest one for
Yeah.
me to pick. But I would say if I had to put my finger on anything, just reaching in the dark, I was way too high in Virginia Tech and I was a bit too low on Pitt. Those are probably the
Yeah.
two. Everything else has basically been within a win or loss, minus Florida State, which I don't think anybody that's a complete
No.
out. Like that's not fair. Like,
No, yeah, like we don't we've given Florida State enough hell on this podcast that we don't need to belabor that point that one of the worst seasons I've ever seen.
no, it's
Do
so
you
bad.
remember the time that they played in Ireland and they were a top 10 team in the country in week 0? Because that happened this season.
I know, man. We went 3 yards in the cloud of punt with that game. It was wild. Like that game taught us so much in retrospect.
Yeah, we learned a lot. Georgia Tech, good. Florida State, bad.
So I guess to say with Virginia Tech, I really thought Kyron Jones is going to be a difference maker. He's just a guy. I really thought Brent Pry recruiting the Tidewater region, like everybody said he would and it was going to. I honestly just I think one of the things that James Franklin does really well. I know we're not like the biggest James Franklin podcast, but like I think he allows his coordinators to coach and put them in positions to succeed. I think people really like being there. If it doesn't work out, could kick you to the curb, but like I mean, Manny Diaz is doing great. We think Tom Allen's a candidate for a lot of these jobs too. Tom Allen's going to be a coordinator maybe one more year before he gets another gig. He's so overqualified for that. But like Brent Pry, I'm kind of wondering like wasn't high on the hire initially, and I've kind of gotten back to the same point here. I'm like, you had an opportunity to take advantage of the chaos in the ACC and you blew it. And a few games came up short. You know, you're losing to Vanderbilt and then losing to Miami. Those are we would say be saying different things about Vatek if they won those two. At least they are going to a bowl game. And then as for Pitt. I've been so out on Pat Narduzzi. I think getting Eli Holstein or Yarnell at quarterback, you
Mhm.
have it's Nate Yarnell, right?
Yeah, nay or no.
Yes, good because I have a friend who's the same last name. And I want to say his name. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, but when Pitt has competent quarterback play, they're a decent team because they have a good
Mhm.
defensive culture. So maybe I undersold Pitt there a little bit.
No, 100%. And like I think with Virginia Tech, like we can't one of the reasons we were a little bit higher on Virginia Tech than than they ended up being was the returning production. I believe it was Jeff Schwartz who made this point on the X the other day, but like he brought up the idea of like in the modern era of college football, we need to stop like talking about returning 21 or 22 starters as being an important thing. Cause you look at the other team that did that, like the two of the top teams in returning production were Oklahoma State and Virginia Tech. And both those teams had woefully different, like woefully bad seasons. Like Oklahoma State, obviously a lot worse than Virginia Tech, but like under expectations for sure in both cases, no doubt about that. I think that when you really get down to it, when it comes to this Virginia Tech team, a lot of the players that they brought back, outside of Kyron Jones and a couple of defensive backs, they're guys that either couldn't go in the transfer portal and get a better job or couldn't go to the NFL. So it's just like a middling level of production. And like when you're bringing all that back and not supplementing with the transfer portal, you're actually putting your program at a disadvantage.
100%. We're 100% done with the ACC. Let's 100% move on to the Big Ten. What'd you get the most wrong with the Big Ten?
I reminded myself recently that I had also had the USC Trojans in the college football playoffs, so I have to go with the USC Trojans because swing and a miss there.
Yeah.
I might be done trusting Lincoln Riley. You've been done, and I should just follow suit, step in line because this ain't it, and it's just I don't know. Like they did look better when they made the change to Jade Maeva, but like, is that gonna last, or is that just not having tape on the kid? Like it's hard to have faith in them. Like I do think that at early in the year there were signs that this was going to be a different team. Like they were better defensively, they were better on the offensive line, but it just kind of deteriorated and fell back into old habits as we went along, as adversity was like as you started to face adversity. So like I don't know, man. It's just I'm definitely looking at this team and this program and thinking, are you really like you're going to bring back Lincoln Riley? I don't think Lincoln Riley's in danger of getting fired at this point, just based on reading the tea leaves. But like, should he be? Because like I
Yeah.
don't like it just doesn't feel like we're trending in the right direction. And like I bought the snake oil.
We all did. This was the one year that I was all in on them, and I'm never going to be in on them again. I'm going to pick him to lose every game he's coaching at USC for the rest of the time. Just sending so much hate that way.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was one that I was wrong on a lot. A little more all over the place with the Big Ten. I bought way too much Maryland stock. I thought Maryland was going to go 8-4 and be halfway decent. I thought the incoming quarterback was going to make a difference, and then Mike Locksley turtled up. It became very. I thought that like Maryland playing a little bit more of a balanced Big Ten slate, not being stuck in the Big Ten East would make a difference. It didn't make a damn difference. I'm kind of shocked Mike Locksley still has a job right now.
Yeah, I am as well. I thought we were going to be talking about Maryland candidates when we came on this program today, and we're not. But and not in the opposite end of Florida State, like we were both wrong on Indiana. Like let's be clear about that. But like that's so obvious that we're not going to belabor that point.
I was high on Indiana, but not this. I thought Indiana
Yeah, like
could be
11
like
and 1
this.
is different.
No, no. I thought they're going to win like 7 or 8 games. And then I would
Yeah.
say a team that was a lot better than I thought in the Big Ten. I don't know if the record really indicated it. UCLA is a lot better than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, 100%. Like I thought Deshaun Foster was for sure getting the axe, but like that team got better every single week.
Yeah,
And like that's a testament of a coach who came into frankly a bad situation. Like UCLA lost a lot of talent, and the fact that you were able to develop that talent over a single season to where they were competitive, like that's impressive.
100%. He's going to keep his job. They're going to build that thing, and they're going to beat Wisconsin, who they got some. Yeah, I was not in on Wisconsin, and I'm not going to be on them anymore.
Nah.
No. Big 12. This is where I was bad. So where were you bad?
So OK State's the easy answer, but I also think they fall into the Florida State category.
Yeah,
Even if you were high on them, you didn't think that like the bad, like you being wrong on that was them being this bad, going winless in the conference like that.
yeah,
So I'm gonna remove them from the conversation. I had K State, and like I wasn't like egregiously wrong. This is still a good football team, but I thought they were gonna be like running like at the top of the Big 12 hands down. And I think frankly, I banked a little too hard on Avery Johnson. I think is really what it came down to. Like Avery Johnson had his moments where he looked phenomenal, and I think he's probably going to be a very interesting portal target this offseason. Like K-State's not flush with cash, and I think that like my guy Bud Elliott, who is a Florida State guy, threw this out here. Gus Malzahn's going to Florida State. He loves himself a running quarterback. Florida State doesn't really have a quarterback. Avery Johnson to FSU. I actually don't hate that. I think that would make a lot of sense and like could be actually pretty interesting. But regardless, like I had K-State winning the Big 12. I had K-State probably going 10-2, 11-1. They obviously fell short of that. I think the offense was a little more inconsistent and the defense was trash. So like that's K-State. I missed the mark on that one.
you missed your mark.
That's right.
Uh, Avery Johnson, you're not in Kansas anymore. That's going to be hard getting him to leave his home state. The most prized prospect from Kansas is Barry Sanders, but
Oh
I
yeah.
can see that. Do you think he or his family at one point had a dog named Toto?
100%. They might still.
Toto 5. It's like, is
Toto
this the
5.
band? Is this the band or the dog? I don't know.
That's the mystery.
Toto Johnson, what a name. Honestly, I want to buy a video game console and make a quarterback named Toto Johnson.
Toto Johnson.
He's not a teeny bopper, he's Toto, dude.
Teeny Bopper Toto.
Kansas State's a great one. That was another one that I was way too high on. I had them making the playoff without even winning the
Hmm.
Big 12. And Oklahoma State's a massive outlier. There's one in every conference for the most part, so maybe not them. I got to eat a bunch of crow in Utah. I bought the snake oil.
Hmm.
I listened to people say things about them. I had Cam Rising going to the Heisman Trophy. The guy can't even like raise his arm to scratch his head anymore.
Hey, but he might be coming back for like a 12th year.
I don't know. He's got a LinkedIn profile just like you and I and everybody else who's not coming back. Um, at some point, they're gonna. I don't know if it's happened already. Kyle Whittingham is probably gonna retire. They're gonna give it to Morgan Scalley. I don't know if that's the right call. Just because it's like he's been
Yeah.
nowhere else. It could work out, but it could also be Mike Gundy now. It's just where have you been? It's
Yeah.
so many issues with Utah. This is a program that like is Georgia light, and with Georgia now, that's even worse. So maybe they've all regressed. Michigan too. It's all the same thing.
Maybe there's no good teams. Maybe there's no good programs.
No, and I think on the other end of the spectrum, teams that I was like really down on that actually had a pretty good year. I mean, Arizona State, but no one saw that. No one saw
Yeah.
that. That's not fair. I would say like probably BYU. That was
Yeah.
one that I feel like I was an ass about. You know what the frick, Bueller? Yeah,
Yeah. What the frick,
I
man?
I had you going 4-8. You went 10-2. You know, you went from this to this. So
That's right.
congratulations. You went
You were
from this.
lounging in the front
You went from
seat, but
this like you went from like a crotch chop to like this.
oh, Degeneration X. We love it.
Oh, isn't that good? Anybody else you're kind of thinking about the Big 12 that you were like down on that actually had a pretty good year?
I will say, like, I feel like we thought Colorado was going to be better. I think we underestimated how much better, quite frankly. Like this Colorado team going nine and
Yeah.
three, like I think we probably had them in like the 6-7 win range, making a bowl game, but not much more. And like the fact that they were in the Big 12 title race to the very end, like, I mean, like Deion Sanders deserves his props for that because like he was definitely that team was a pleasant surprise this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's a lot of teams that are basically within a win or two where I thought they'd be, but yeah, I shorted Colorado. I thought they were going to go 5-7. So yeah.
Yeah.
And let's go to the granddaddy of them all, not involved in the Rose Bowl. Let's do the SEC. Where were you the most wrong?
Missouri, man. Like, I don't care if this team is still ranked. Like, they're not good. And like, I thought they were going to be very good after what we saw last year. I bought into you talked about buying the snake oil. I bought the snake oil on Eli. Like, I thought Drink was going to absolutely have this thing humming as a program, not just like as a team. And especially bringing back Brady Cook, having Luther Burden in the building, like all the talent that they had. And like, maybe I underestimated the loss of Cody Schrader because that seemed to be a big thing. They couldn't run the ball well. And so like maybe the Cody Schrader was actually the straw that stirred the drink last year. The defense regressed after losing Blake Baker. Like it was it was just not the season that I thought Missouri was going to have. Like I feel weird saying that about a team that's 9-3 and ranked, but like we've made fun of them being ranked the entire time because like we don't think they deserve it.
I mean, I had them going 9-3, so I really can't say that. But yeah, that's a completely different 9-3 than what we thought they'd be. Look at a lot here. So I was way too high on Auburn. I thought Auburn would be 8-4. They went 5-7. I thought that Hugh Freeze was going to make a difference with Peyton Thorne. They did play better in the second half of the year, but it got really bad there. Like the Cal loss, like stuck in their head for weeks. That
Mhm.
um, bought way too much into them. I shorted South Carolina considerably. I was
Yeah,
way down on
we
Florida.
both did.
They're both a lot better than I thought. I was way down on. I'm not going to give Arkansas credit. No, I'm not going to do that. But we were way down on Vanderbilt. That was not
Uh-huh.
fair either. I think who
We
else
underestimated the live dog. What were we doing?
I was also a bit too high on LSU. I thought the
Yeah.
Brian Kelly pop year. I thought everything like that with Nuss, the Nuss bus, and everything like that. I think we failed to recognize the changes and the difficulties that may pop up there with them having two new coordinators, the slow start that they always have under Brian Kelly. And yeah, they're never going to win a national title with him, and he's going to die without winning a national title. And this is false start.
Yep. You know, we talked about Ohio State coaching candidates if Ryan Day were to get fired. The funniest possibility would be Brian Kelly. The funniest possibility.
The funniest possibility is Marcus Freeman going back to alma mater and hiring Brian Kelly as his OC.
Oh my God. You're right. That is the funniest possibility.
I guess on that note, there's a prompt out there for probably to be written about coaches who are going to be in the playoff who could go to the NFL. Marcus Freeman's probably at the top of the list for me.
Yeah, I mean I believe it was yesterday he got reported as like a candidate for the Bears job, which
Yeah,
I actually don't hate that. Like in terms of like I know like you think the Bears job is just toxic and anyone who takes it's going to fail, but like in terms of someone who can come in and like actually like instill a culture and like actually like feed through all the BS that Ryan Poles and the McCaskies are throwing down at him, like I think Marcus Freeman might be a good candidate to try and do that, especially with his ties to the area.
I was an idiot. That people said at the time, like I hated the Bears trading the Bryce Young. I hated it, and I'm kind of starting to come back around because I think Ryan Poles is literally takes a blender to his brain. I think you walk into Hallis Hall, the door is not there. You literally hit a brick in your face.
Yeah.
Also, anywhere that Kevin Warren is, I don't want to be because he
No, fair, fair, fair.
everywhere's been better since he left. The Vikings are better, Arizona State's better.
Yeah.
The Big Ten's better.
I was about to say the Big Ten's definitely better. Like it's not like not coincidence that the Big Ten is gonna have four college football playoff teams and Kevin Warren's not there.
No, he's not. And I don't know if we're going to pour one out for him, and he's not going bowling, 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 but we're going to finish the show up with that. So we got a lot of teams to pour one out for. I think about 11, and I think five teams are going bowling. We have exactly the amount of bowl teams that for spots. So 82. So we're going to start and suck it. App State, you got your game canceled versus Liberty. You're 5-6. They're not going to play that game. You're not going bowling. This was supposed to be like the crowning team of the Sun Belt, and it's not. I don't know what is it. Sean Clark. I don't know what's going on there in Ben.
I mean, like, I will say that I am willing to throw some of this out because, like, Boone is one of the areas, and, like, that obviously the area of Western North Carolina was affected pretty greatly by Hurricane Helene. That's why they didn't play the
Yeah,
Liberty game. Like, I think it might just be a weird season. Like, and, like, maybe that's dismissive. Maybe it is an institutional problem with Clark running this thing, but, like, I'm willing to write it off based on the history of App State and the fact that they don't have many bad years, like frankly, in program history. Like, I'm willing to write it off as, it was just a weird year with like literally other work like out circumstances completely outside of your control.
that's true. But Scott Satterfield also won there and won there a lot, and
Yeah.
we know we think about him. We'll talk about his team here in a second. Gonna pour one out here for the Auburn Tigers. Just should have hit the portal. What are you doing?
Yeah. I it's both baffling, but like also maybe Hugh Freeze like really hated the roster. Like I mean, we've heard him allude to that, quite frankly, like more candidly than I thought he would. But like he's basically like, yeah, Brian Harsin left me a bag of beans here. So like I'm trying to get through that bag of beans. And like when you're seeing what Auburn is doing on the recruiting trail, when you see some of the stuff they've already done on the recruiting trail, like oh God, I'm telling I his name's Cam, the wide receiver, the freshman wide receiver they have. I keep wanting to say Cam Thomas, but that's the dude who plays for the Nets.
It's escaping me right now. He's great.
Okay.
It's
But yeah,
like
but
can't.
like
Yeah,
you have like you're already putting pieces in there. Now you have an even better recruiting class coming into the building. This might be when you hit the portal. Maybe he really just wanted to reshape this roster. And maybe that's why we like even when people were calling for Hugh Freeze's head, we never really heard anything like rumbling from the Auburn administration. It was always like, hey, we're staying the course here. And like maybe this was the course all along.
yeah, I think that's fair. Give Hugh Freeze 2 more years, see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't and pouring out for Cincinnati and Scott Satterfield. Don't give him another year. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, let's just see if Luke Fickell wants to come back because you were 5-2 and you lost your last 5 games. You
Yeah.
basically gave West Virginia a bowl game that Ren Baker didn't want Neal Brown coach again.
Yeah, Brent Baker is probably like sending hate mail to Scott Satterfield right now.
Dear Scott, I hate you. Hate, not love. Signed your son of letter says hate. No, it
Oh
says
God. Duhas
um
two S's.
two us, two S's. Um it says GFY red.
That's right.
Next one's bad too. Eastern Michigan. Chris Crane's a great coach.
Mm,
Eagles could do anything in MAC play. This is a team that I thought could win the group of five back like in September, and they won like one more game.
yeah, I mean the MAC season was super weird. Like I already talked about Toledo and got my pot shot in at Jason Candle, but like the Emus are one of those as well. Like it was right there in front of you. You looked like a good team, and like you just deteriorated.
Yeah, it fell apart. Another team that fell into a Lazarus pit, but ran out of time. That'd be the Kansas Jayhawks. Got smoked by Baylor. Baylor's 8-4. That is a wild statement to say.
Hey man, shouts to Sawyer Robertson, who I have a feeling will not be playing football at Baylor next season.
Come to Athens, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, that sounds like a Georgia quarterback name. They're pouring out for the Spartans with Michigan State. We knew that this was going to be a tough first year there for Jonathan Smith. Ooh, Childs, things are going to get easier, but it wasn't easy for you in 2024. I could see Michigan State should flip its record and be 7-5 next year, maybe 8-4. I think that they're going to make great strides there next year. They got to take some time because it was just the Mel Tucker scandal just left that place in a really bad spot.
Agreed completely. And like it's 5-7, but like it's not a 5-7 I feel too terrible about. Like
Yeah,
honestly, with the way Auburn finished the season, I'm kind of in the same boat with Auburn. Like I feel a
yeah,
lot better with Auburn based on the vibes at the end of the season. Same with the way this Michigan State team finished. Like they were frisky, and like frisky is better than what they were last year under Mel Tucker. Like I think that with the roster that Jonathan Smith inherited, with the guys that he brought in, like you saw a lot of really positive signs for the future.
for sure. I had them been going 4-8. They're 5-7, and we got to pour one out under the bridge for Bronco Mendenhall's school survival. Your team did not survive.
Yeah.
You got to pee one out, I guess. I
Doesn't know how to
thought
survive in Hawaii.
no, it's an exotic place. That's probably his first time ever being to Hawaii. He's like, what the hell is this?
What the hell is the beach?
Why are you eating that porcupine pine cone thing?
Do you mean pineapple? No, that's not a pineapple. Pineapple's yellow.
You mean the day already happened and I'm already up? I'm so behind schedule.
Oh my God.
Bronco Mendenhall probably keeps GMT, so he probably runs like on the prime meridian, so he basically keeps range time.
100%.
Pouring out for Trent Bray's Oregon State Beavers. He is making a believer in Beavtown. I think he did a lot better of a job than we expected. We thought Oregon State was going to be terrible, but they are the Pac-2 champions, unbelievably.
Congratulations. I will reserve judgment on Trent Bray. I was ready to write him off as a failure after 1 year, so like I can't quite do that yet, but still not overly optimistic.
And I got to pour one out here for the ULM Warhawks. And Brian Vincent, I believe you lost like 7 games in a row, dude.
Yep. Uh-huh. This team was 5-1 or
What
five and
the?
0. Sorry, they lost 6 in a row because they were 5-1 and then they went 5-7.
It was his first opportunity as a head coach. I think, okay, he was on the New Mexico staff. He was the OC for Diego Pavia. And oh
Hell yes.
no. Oh no, she got a Vanderbilt, dude.
Should have gone to Vandy.
Pouring out for the Who's with Tony Elliott. He's keeping his job. I think he did a pretty good job this year. He set the foundation for what Cavaliers football can be if they could just get a little bit better quarterback play. That's all they
Hey,
need.
the Whoopsie Daisy King is in the portal, so who knows?
Yeah, maybe if Quinn Ewers comes back, Arch Manning just leaves, goes to Virginia to be with his sister.
That'd be incredible.
Oh my God, you'd hate Virginia so much.
Oh yeah, dude, it would. I would be insufferable in this here program.
You will go find your birth certificate and say I was not born in that state.
100%. I'll burn that. I'll burn it. I'll burn it to the ground.
And we may have to burn it to the ground there in Madison, Wisconsin for the Wisconsin Badgers. It's Tyler Van Dyke broke his leg versus or towards ACL, whatever. The point is he broken, and so are the Badgers under Luke Fickell. This is a mess.
Yeah, no, like I'm curious to see what happens with the offensive coordinator hired to replace Tim Beck, not Tim Beck, Phil Longo, excuse me. Sorry. Getting former triangle area offensive coordinators mixed up. But no, what happens post Phil Longo, like if they get back to kind of Wisconsin's DNA, but Fickle definitely enters next year on the hot seat. There's no question.
He needs to do better because he's starting to get into the Mario Cristobal Bermuda
Yeah.
Triangle of just like I don't think you know how to play a triangle.
Yeah, I don't think you know how to, just hit those dulcet tones in the percussion section.
I know just the yeah, drink your coffee. There's no percussion in the limeade factory, just grunt.
No, yeah, just grass.
All right, last time we're gonna do this. Do you want to be an ass? Do you want me to be an
Oh, I'll be
ass?
an ass. That's why I was taking a
Let's,
sip of coffee, getting my vocal cords
all
ready.
right. The good part is we only have like five of these, so uh we're pissing teal right now because the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers are.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
Yes, I think Tim Beck's going to a ball game. That's their coach, I think.
Yeah, 100% it is.
Bad day for you, but a good day for your marriage. And she may have rubbed it in your face, but the North Carolina State podcast is going.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
Wolfpack.
I can't do that, but
I know you're not gonna do that. No, no. And we're gonna send a color to a bowl game, a very angry shade of chartreuse with the North Texas Mean Green. Eric Morris, I can't believe you did it, but congratulations, man, because your Mean Green are going.
bowling, 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 bowling with zero defense.
Yeah, I think he enters next year on the hot seat.
100%, dude. Like, stop allowing 40 points a game, and this job will be a lot easier.
Yes. Another guy who's probably entering next season on the hot seat, everybody's favorite ACC team that let them down. Probably going to wear the satin kimono this year. I think that they're the prime candidate for it. The Virginia Tech Hokies are going.
Bowling, 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 bowling.
They sure are, man. Exit light internight because we're going to go to Kalamazoo, Michigan for the last team that's going bowling. The Western Michigan Broncos. Shout out Lance Taylor, starting to figure it out, man. He's making me a believer in the land of kazoos of Kalamazoo. Let's go, the Western Michigan Broncos.
They patch the holes in the boat, so they are bowling, 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 bowling.
They roll and roll and roll and roll.
That's right.
uh I was blanking like I hope I remember Western Michigan's head coach's name and I remembered it because I wrote a massive article about that for fansided.com 2 years ago. It's still probably up there. You can read it. It may also give your computer a virus because there's a lot of backlinks everywhere, but it doesn't matter.
100%.
This was episode 131 of Fall Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show at CFB Fall Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Oh my God, it's coming across the screen to make its appearance. Please put 5 on it. Subscribe, and give us a 5-star review on Apple. We did pick up another new subscriber. Somebody unsubscribed. Now we're back to where we're at for the very Michael Jordan, very 23.
That's right. Don't know about you, but I'm feeling 23.
Nobody likes C1E 23, and this is false start.